Check this out. First and foremost, you can see that is a short shaft spool. Take note. Look at these right here, these little slots here. They removed a lot of material and it's also very thin. Look at those drill slots. This thing weighs 8.9. Look at that. That is extremely light. Check out this crazy spool. It is so shallow. Holy smokes. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Jim Lee. I run a YouTube channel called Raw Fishing, and today I am stoked to be on KastKing's channel. I'll be comparing KastKing Zephyr BFS reel to KastKing other baitcasting reels. So, KastKing Zephyr BFS reel. What does BFS stand for? It stands for Bait Finesse System, or it simply just means ultralight baitcaster. This style of reel and fishing was originated in Japan for casting light lures at short distances with extreme efficiency and precision. Have you ever thrown a light lure on a typical bait casting reel? What happens? I know what happens, guys. If you were to cast a super light lure, say with this big Speed Demon Pro, what could happen is if you're doing an overhand cast, likely it's gonna fall right in front of your face. Or if you're doing a side cast, it's gonna go whoop that way if you're using a right hand and doing a side arm cast. And the reason why is because your lure is way too light for that reel to dispense line out. So what is the main difference between this Zephyr BFS reel versus the rest of the KastKing lineup? Well, although I want to talk about how shallow the spool, the obvious thing, I already touched base on spool weight, so why don't we start on that topic first? So let me take this spool out for you for a second. All right. Check this out. First and foremost, you can see that is a short shaft spool, and that should help you cast further. And because we will be casting with no tension, you technically don't need the extra long shaft with the extra bearing, etc., etc. So it's perfect to have a short shaft spool. Take note. Look at these right here, these little slots here. They removed a lot of material and it's also very thin. Look at those drill slots back there as well, including the bearing, the spool bearing. This thing weighs 8.9. Look at that. That is extremely light. So in order to cast light lures, you got to have a very light spool. And this spool here is super light. As I mentioned earlier, they removed a lot of the materials off the spool. You see how thin it is? Why don't we compare it to the Royal Legend Elite? All right, we have this spool here, so let's take it out. All right, so we have this spool here. Before I even weigh it, you can see that there are not many drilled slots, okay? It's pretty thick. All right, so let's weigh it right there. Check that out. That thing is almost twice as this guy right here. The Zephyr spool is super duper light. All right, guys, down to the shallow spool. Why so shallow? The question shall be answered today. There are two reasons why you gotta have a shallow spool for BFS fishing or ultralight baitcasters. First and foremost, okay, for ultralight lures, you do not need a lot of line capacity. Like this guy right here, or let's say my Speed Demon, okay? This guy is deep, okay? And even though it's deep, this reel is actually very impressive too because it has short shaft spool and you can see all of these holes right there to reduce the weight. In fact, why don't I just weigh this guy just for the hell of it? Look at that, 15.7. So having a shallow spool will reduce the total amount of weight on your spool. In fact, I use 4-pound test line, 4-pound floral coat, okay? And I only spool up just about 1/5 or 1/4 of the spool. And that's all you need. That is all you really need. The next one is really important because I have people asking this question before. If too much line will add too much weight, well, why don't you just put a little bit of line on your baitcaster and give it a go? Well, yeah, you could definitely do that. And a lot of people have done it before too. That's why you will notice that when you have less line on your baitcaster, you cast lighter lures just a little easier, but you won't get that distance. And the reason why you won't get the distance is because, let's take a look at the two right there, okay? If this were to rotate one full rotation, which one will dispense more line? Having a shallow spool gives you a bigger circumference, which allows it to dispense more line as it rotates, so it doesn't impede in the lure's trajectory. believe it or not, this Zephyr spool have plenty of room to put as much line as you need. This thing is rated for 75 yards for 4-pound test line mono. But as I mentioned earlier, I only spool up maybe a quarter, maybe even a fifth of the spool. You don't need that much. All right, bonus time. I mentioned earlier to you guys that we would fish a BFS reel such as the KastKing Zephyr with no tension. So I will show you guys how I would tune this guy for casting lures. First and foremost, what you want to do is loosen this guy until you start hearing this. There is a wobble, okay? Too loose, it'll be a big wobble, okay? But we want to fish this with no tension, but we also don't want this right here. So what you want to do is tighten this guy until you don't hear it. And you want to stop exactly when you stop having that left to right play. That's it, man. That's really it. This thing got spin very, very nicely. Now, I suggest not touching this, but every single time you guys go out on a new fishing trip, new day, you do want to just take your hands, wobble just a little bit, just in case it loosened up a little bit, and just readjust it. And then for adjusting the brakes, I like to recommend people to start off with at least 80% of the brakes when they are new to BFS. Maybe you put it at 4.5, maybe at 4, and cast softly. And once you get the hang of it, you guys can reduce the amount of brakes. I typically have mine at 3 for soft cast, and if I want super long distances and I want to cast super hard, I'll probably have it around 3.5. But every lure is different, so make sure you guys test out every single lure, figure out the feel for your casting style and your favorite lures. Again, start with 80% and slowly reduce your brakes. This niche fishing style was created in Japan to cast light lures at short distances with extreme precision, accuracy, and efficiency. In the past few years, the growth for BFS fishing has grown tremendously, and therefore many reel companies are creating more of these styles of reel so that they can cast lighter lures, more accurate, and further distances. You'll find that the KastKing Zephyr BFS reel will perform exceptionally well at a very affordable price. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comments below for KastKing, or if you guys want, you guys can come over to my channel, Raw Fishing, and watch some of my videos of me slaying with my Zephyr BFS combo. The fish don't wait, so get your BFS game on.
Subscribe to the KastKing YouTube channel too. Learn new fishing tips and fishing hacks. Watch how-to fishing videos and fishing gear comparisons. See new KastKing fishing tackle reviews. Hear interviews with fishing personalities. Enjoy a constant flow of new content from the KastKing Pro team. Don't miss announcements about these topics. Subscribe now to youtube.com/KastKing. Click the subscribe button below.